Hello everyone, it's Ryan with LayLax here, and we have some special guests this time, and this is
Matt from Evike.
So today we'll be talking about a couple things, including our, buckings, chambers, and a barrel series, as well as our container gun case, but more importantly, our collaboration products that we do with Evike and all the EMG series. So Matt, I know that you're quite in tune with the performance parts and how you get BBs downrange, right? So from your perspective, especially for the US, what are like the most important things to get that longer range and more accuracy for your BBs?
One of the biggest questions we get from any person playing airsoft is, how do I make my gun more accurate? Or how do I make it perform better? And the first things we always recommend are barrel, bucking, and hop-up unit. Exactly. Those are going to give you the most benefit for the cost. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what we do here at LayLax with our Prometheus AEG line, as we have many brands like 9-ball for the gas guns, PSS for snipers, etc. But we'll be focusing on the Prometheus line when it comes to our barrels, buckings, and chambers, but we have some new products that we want to touch on, specifically our new Elite CNC hop-up chamber here. Very spicy boy. So we'll go with that, and before we go on to there, just know that it not only comes with the CNC hop-up chamber, but it does come with two of our buckings. Our most famous, the Promi Purple, as you may have heard. And then the new collaboration EMG 60-degree hop-up bucking, specifically for the US market. And now, a good question was asked earlier is, how do you know which bucking is good for me? Well, we always go off of not just the degrees that you see on other buckings, is more the BB weight and the FPS that you're looking for. So what would you say is the average in the US? What's everyone using for, let's say, outdoors?
It depends from field to field, but I'd say in general, most players are using anywhere between 350 FPS and 400 FPS, by and large, with 2.5 or 2.8 gram BBs.
Excellent, and that's what we have designed here. So first, our Purple Promi, which was been made many years ago for the Marui standard here in Japan, which, if many of you don't know, the maximum limit is 322 FPS on 2.5 gram BBs. And that's what this was originally made for. But people in the UK and other countries where they only can do 1 joule or 1.2 joules, this is perfect. But if you want to optimize it for, let's say, your environment with the 350 to 400 plus FPS on a 0.28 up to a 0.32 gram BB, that's what this guy's good for. So the new blue one.
So really a good rule of thumb is, if you're interested in playing mostly indoor, in the US, stick to the purple.
Yes.
If you're playing mostly outdoor, if you're using heavier weight BBs, go with the EMG blue.
Exactly. And then we have our red guy, or the hard, so the soft, the 60-degree firm, and then the hard red, which is mostly for 450 plus FPS on heavier BBs up past 3.2 and above, in the 4s. So maybe, what we say, DMRs, snipers.
Yeah, I mean, great for DMRs. It also gets cold in certain regions of the US, so the red is going to be much more appropriate for those colder environments, especially when you're using heavier weight BBs and higher FPS.
Absolutely, and that's a great point he touched on, is the colder environments. You need thicker rubber for those colder winter games, or if you live like Finland, Russia, and those kind of more northerly places with heavier BBs, hey, this is the best one for you. So with that aside, what do you need in order for your bucking and barrel to actually work?
Well, they have to connect to something, and you have to have some sort of way of adjusting pressure on BBs.
Yes, and with that, let's move on to the hop-up chamber. Right, and for a lot of new players out there, because we have so many new people joining the hobby these days, is they're always asking, how do I get my BBs to go further? So yes, the hop-up chamber is part of that T or that L shape where it it completes the whole junction between the air compression unit in your gearbox to your magazine with the BBs coming up to it shooting out downrange. So what are some important features you would find in a hop-up chamber these days to go, I would say, more accurate and further, in your opinion?
Well, some of the things that I look for in a hop-up unit is, how well does it feed from a variety of magazines and a variety of different BB weights? Is it making sure that all of my BBs are being fed in front of the nozzle where they need to be? And then how is my nozzle engaging with those BBs to make sure that I'm getting the best use of the compressed air that's happening inside the gearbox and pushing those BBs outward. And then finally, how finely does a hop-up unit adjust, and does it keep that adjustment? I think that is probably the most important. You can get away with the other things not being perfect as long as the adjustment is good and it stays where you intend it to be.
Absolutely. And that's kind of something we mentioned when we were working on this project is, yes, we have older aluminum hop-ups that, you know, they do well for whatever you need them to, because a lot of stocks are made out of the plastic, right?
Yep.
But we went with the CNC hop-up chamber not only for durability, but mostly for precision cutting. And what you mentioned with the nozzles is perfect, is because our CNC hop-up chamber can be worked with TMs, Krytax, G&G, Aries, the vast majority of V2, M4, M16 platforms. And we have more for other brands as well coming along the way. But for now, we have the wide use, or the widely compatible version for V2 and M4 platforms here. And with that said, you don't need any special nozzle for this, any nozzling. So you can drop it in a Krytax, you can drop it in a TM, drop it in a G&G, and it will just have that perfect air seal regardless. And like you said,
it takes the guesswork out of it in terms of like choosing, oh, will this work with my, you can pick up one product and know that it's going to work regardless of the brand that made it. Yeah.
No, you're right, because like something like Krytax is a little bit shorter nozzle, right? And then people always have the feeding issue.
Well, I mean, as with everything in airsoft, everything is TM spec, right? But that is a really kind of a broad range of things, and all brands are a little bit different. So the fact that you were able to develop a hop-up unit that works well with all platforms means that you've got a good average between all the different tolerances that are available on the market.
Absolutely. And it's like, no matter what, you know, aftermarket parts you throw in your gun, nothing's 100% compatible. But we try to get there, we try to close that gap as much as possible. And like you said, take out the guesswork. And the other thing you said, so aside from the nozzles fitting like perfectly, is the adjustment. So we have our hop dial here, very standard, but we give you the option to have a ball bearing and spring included for that nice click. So it keeps it in place. And why would you want to keep it in place for certain situations?
Well, over time, the compression-held hop-up unit adjusters, they can back off due to vibration, movement, you know, if you drop it or set it down. And over time, that you will see that the hop-up becomes less and less effective, or goes the other way and hops more than you intended it to. So knowing that it's going to be held in place even with a little bit of friction, or in this case a spring and ball bearing, means that you'll have to adjust it less often to get the same performance that you're used to. Once you've set it to 2.5s to hop straight for whatever distance you're looking for it to do, it'll keep that reliable adjustment.
Yeah, especially if you zero it with an optic or something as well. You don't want it to suddenly just be shooting off into space or anything. And I would say probably using lots of full auto, HPA, high rate of fire would often knock it back and forth. That's why we gave it with the option to lock it with a nice clickiness, especially if we have the gloves, you can't really feel it. But if you don't want that and you want a more precise hop, you can just take it out and install it without the ball bearing. So you have the best of both worlds.
And it still functions the exact same.
Exactly. And the last big feature of this is we have an vertical or kind of TDC type of elevated hop arm. So you're doing a direct top-down compression on your BB for the most amount of hop. And it's compatible with the standard hop up that you've seen in old TMs and stuff, as well as flat hop and R-hop. Obviously you have to R-hop your barrel and do all the patch yourself, but you can use the nub and everything as is with this hop-up chamber.
Again, one product that meets the needs of a wide variety of players. Yeah.
And tries to do it as best as it can. And yeah, it does a lot in not only helping it feed flawlessly and also making sure that the nozzle doesn't bump into it, or make sure you have that consistency, right? And it gives you a little bit of that FPS increase with that perfect air seal, and works with a wide variety of guns and barrels. Right, so we just had a nice talk about the bucking barrels and all these hop-up chamber stuff. So any last comments you might have?
I think if you're looking for one product range that kind of solves all of the necessary or suggested upgrades for your AEGs. The Prometheus line of parts all work together and work with a wide range of products. It doesn't really matter what brand of AEG you're using. There is a solution here to give you better range, better accuracy, more adjustment, and ultimately more consistency. So you're going to have a better time playing the game because you will be as accurate as you want to be. That's important.
Very much so. And we thank you for coming on today. Yeah, catch us for some more videos here with Matt and myself, and we'll be talking about a few other collaboration products that we have made together. So stay tuned and see you next time. See you later.
ご視聴ありがとうございます。新商品やパーツ組み込み動画はこちら。
And if you guys are looking for cool gameplay and entertainment content, don't forget to check out our international channel right here. Don't forget to subscribe. Yay!